Morrison, Senator Durbin and I worked for years to get the criminal justice reform bill passed that we call step one or first step. Anyway, it may surprise you then with the question I'm going to ask you. Over the past few years, you praised progressive prosecutors like Rachel Rollins and Larry Krasner for their intent to, quote, reform current tough-on-crime practices, end of quote. You've written that the American criminal legal system has done, quote, decades of damage to communities, and you have suggested that the criminal justice system suffers from, quote-unquote, systemic defects. Given your substantial criticism of our judicial system, how would you plan to use your position as a district court judge to change the system if you're confirmed?
Thank you, Ranking Member Grassley, for that question. I don't recall some of the specific remarks that you referenced, but I certainly have spoken and written about the role that prosecutors can play in the work that I do, which is rectifying wrongful convictions. Typically, the cases that I work on with prosecutors are decades old. Sometimes the prosecutors who handle them were in law school or in high school when the cases were originally prosecuted. And I am grateful to many of them from both political parties and all around the country for working with me to do justice and to use DNA and other evidence that wasn't previously available to free my clients. My role as a judge would be very different if I am confirmed. It would simply be to preside over each case one at a time and to decide the law based on the facts presented to me.
For you also, you have been politically active throughout your life as a volunteer, advisor, and activist, and I can't find any fault with that. You have also said that, quote, a way to be a good citizen is to be politically active, end of quote. How has your political activity shaped your view of the law and the Constitution?
Thank you, Ranking Member Durbin. As I referenced in my opening, my grandfather came to this country when he was 4 years old, and I was his first grandchild, and we talked a lot about the privileges and responsibilities of citizenship. He came from a country that was not free, as America is. And I have volunteered on political campaigns when I've had the time as part of my duties as a citizen, but I recognize that the role of a judge is entirely different, and I certainly would abide by all of the canons of ethics and limit or stop my political activities in that regard.
Okay. For Mr. Monteiro, you have served as a member of the Prince George County School Board since 2018. In 2020, a committee of the board voted to end its relationship with the county police department and remove all officers from the schools. Do you believe that school board should defund the police or remove officers from schools?
Thank you, Ranking Member Grassley, for the question. No, I voted against that resolution. I didn't think it was the right approach for our county.
Thank you for that. Another question for you. On your Twitter account, quote, unquote, Paul for PGC, you tweeted in support of protests and marches against guns and gun violence in 2018. For example, in reference to the March for Our Lives protest, you tweeted, quote, Frederick Douglass had it right, power concedes nothing without a demand. Can you assure the members of this committee that if you're confirmed as director, you will take any action to not take any action to infringe on Second Amendment rights?
I can make that commitment, yes, Ranking Member Grassley.
It's Judge Garnett. You served as federal prosecutor for a number of years before you became a state court judge. Your cases covered a wide range, including prosecuting eco-terrorists, child exploitation, and fraud. What made you decide to pursue a career as Assistant Attorney General, and how has that experience shaped your approach as a judge?
Thank you, Senator Grassley. I am assuming you're referring to me being an assistant United States attorney, and I decided to pursue that career because I believe very much in justice and in making sure that people are treated fairly. when I was in law school, I spent a little of time in as a defense attorney, and working with prosecutors across the aisle. I realized that we need diverse and varied experiences on both sides. And so that is one of the reasons why I pursued a career in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Thank you for your question.